Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean Tobias, coming to you live from Revive's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. I'd like to welcome Rose Fernandez, who's the CEO of Algenist, an algae-based skincare supplements brand with a really strong portfolio and patent-based ingredients and products that we're going to talk about today. Rose, I want to welcome you. Looking good out there in California.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, I'd love to. Some people know about your company, many don't. So to start out, we just kind of love to hear about the company and maybe talk about the size and scope of it. You've been there a while. Love to hear about your journey and just, how it's kind of come to where it is today.
Yeah, sure. So Algenist is a skincare brand rooted in science. We're very focused on clinicals. Our customer very much wants evidence. She wants to see results. We're able to deliver that. We were born from an ingredient discovery. Super interesting story. It was a microalgae discovery from a bunch of guys that were actually studying and looking to run the world with biofuel. And they came across this very unique microalgae that had different properties than what they were used to using microalgae for. And it really showed that it was able to survive and thrive in any environment. Like no matter what you did to it, it just held its own. And so they spoke to a few scientists. They figured out that there was a good opportunity for the application in skincare. They patented that ingredient, and that ingredient today we know as hyaluronic acid. So hyaluronic acid is really the power behind all of our products. It's in all of our products really, except for our microalgae oil, just because there's no need to add it to microalgae oil. Different needs. But I think the most interesting part of that is that we were born in a biotech lab. I like to say our founder was algae. And then, from there, we were sold. We were actually carved off. The business was carved off. And Tengram Capital purchased the business. So that's about the time that I came on board.
Yeah, it's good group.
Yeah, they're great. They're great financial partners. Also really great industry resource, beauty, very well informed with beauty, like very much love the category. So really good people to work with. Really enjoyed working with them. And I joined in September of 2016. Tangram acquired the brand in August of 2016. And I came on as the SVP of sales, working alongside the co-founder at that point, Frederick Stockel. Which was really a great opportunity to be able to do that. And then I took over as CEO in March of 2018. Frederick moved back to France, and he sits on our board today. So that's kind of how I arrived here.
Yeah, you've got some good board members. I think we just interviewed the CEO of Revieve. I think she's still on your board.
Yeah, Alana.
Yeah, she's great. Lots of things to dig into there. I'm going to hold off on the algae and the innovation thing for a second. So you've been on an interesting journey. You weren't just a CEO that popped in like I've done in the past. What's your journey been like? What are some of the challenges you've faced? You clearly have been successful, but it'd be interesting to hear what types of things you ran into in that journey.
Well, it's been interesting. So this is my first CEO role. I'd been a general manager before, always had commercial roles. So, there's the learning curve with the CEO gig just to begin with, right? Like you don't know what you don't know. And you have this vision of what it's going to be like and what you're, how you're going to spend your time. And I think that, the first thing for me was really understanding that I was spending 100% of my time in this job. Like that became evident very quickly. And what I love about that is that didn't become a burden. Like that became something that I loved. And, I've always worked in beauty, so it was an easy transition. And I'm always thinking about the business. So while that started out as a very different change for me, it became something that I really embraced. I spent probably a lot more time in legal than I was
Yeah,
imagining.
I bet.
And, I think I've got that under control, but there's just things that you handle that you don't, I don't think most people think about. Like, because we have a patent portfolio, there's a lot of legal maintenance that needs to happen with that. There's claims process, regulatory reviews, you've got, labor practices. Like, I literally, maybe sounds naive, but I didn't think I would spend as much time in that as I did early on. So not necessarily a challenge, just more kind of having to run a little bit faster in that area than I had expected.
Right.
The biggest challenge at the beginning in the CEO role was actually understanding how we make our ingredient. So, a lot of brands, they go to a supplier and that gets handled, and that's perfectly fine, but as a CEO, you need to, obviously, you've got this, hero ingredient that you manufacture yourself. You better understand how that works and who makes it and what the risks are. And so there was a lot of learning there. Felt like a little bit like a scientist there for a minute.
Walking around in a lab coat and stuff. I mean, algoric acid, just the name scares me. Is it okay for everybody? Is anybody allergic to
Algonic acid is really just a trade name. I mean, the actual name is just a little bit difficult for the average person. It's Parachlorella burgenici. So we decided algonic acid sounded a lot easier.
Very scientific. Is it something you can buy, or do you guys have to like make this in a lab because you've got patents on it? And I mean, you're sourcing it, obviously.
No, we have, we have trusted suppliers that make it for us. We don't have our lab anymore. We did have a lab when we were part of Solazyme Terravia, but we have trusted partners that make this ingredient for us. They follow our process. And
without getting into the weeds, does some of it actually come from algae or any kind of ocean-based products, or is it all just man-made now?
It's these microalgae retains that we have, and we literally take the smallest little microscopic amount, and it's regenerative. So it is, for me, like the pinnacle of sustainability to be able to make a regenerative ingredient is super cool. And I think when I think about the world and the population and the environment, such an important topic, like it's so wonderful to be able to have an ingredient that is self-reproducing. Like, I'm not having to take from natural resources in order to make that.
Right. Science-based, clinically proven. You check the vegan box, everything on this one. Why is it so good for people?
Well, before we get too deep in, we go there, I do want to share with you one of the things that I was really important to me to do when I first took over as CEO was to make the brand 100% vegan formulation. For those very reasons that I was talking with you about from the environmental perspective. And so we had already been rationalizing the portfolio quite a bit. That was kind of my job as the SVP of sales. So, I was pretty close to the product portfolio, which, by the way, that was a huge challenge, right? Because you're discontinuing SKUs, you're having to manage inventory, like you've got retail partners. But we had one SKU after we had discontinued a fair bit that had a milk protein in it. So nothing terrible, but it still was a, animal derived perceived ingredient, milk protein. And so we replaced that with a celery extract. And then from there, we were able to claim 100% vegan formulation. So I felt really great about that. I think the team also felt really great about that. They worked very hard on making sure that now we hit all the marks. So we had clinical skincare, we've got claims, we've got a patent portfolio, we're vegan formulation, like pinnacle of clean and safe.
Right.
So that became, that story happened in April of 2019. So pretty fast.
And, when you've, so you started out in the sales side, so you were obviously pretty focused on, channel management. I've seen your products in Sephora, and where else are you big? What countries are you big in these days?
So our big priority is China. We have a really nice Sephora China business. We also have some business in Hong Kong and Taiwan through a distributor.
Do Asian populations, are they more in sync with the algae? The whole concept of it is.
I think what's interesting about the Asian population is that they're very in sync with the natural ingredients, but they want ingredients that are effective.
Yeah.
There is a natural affinity for algae. There's a clear understanding of the power of algae in Asia.
Yeah.
It's much more so than I think in the U.S. In the U.S., it's becoming more and more understood, especially I think through the advent of supplements and different types of food sources that we're starting to see.
Yep.
But in Asia, for sure, there is a deep love and respect for algae and science. So they also really embrace, the Asian consumer also really embraces the science aspect, the clinical studies, the efficacy. We actually, have a nickname, if you will, which we love, and so we've brought it into brand, which is ingredient-aholics. So we're perceived as ingredient-aholics, which is a great perception because that's where we spend all our time.
And it's a consumer trend here in the States now. Again, I see people in the aisles like taking off their glasses, trying to read Are you printing ingredients bigger now? Because the ingredient-aholics thing is real. I mean, we've had a few clean, quote unquote, clean brands on that are truly, clean and vegan and smart about it. And the ingredients list it's revealing. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
It's like I see ingredients in some of these products. It's fascinating. How do you actually make this work without all of the traditional, whatever, additives and coagulation things and stuff like that? Still not mass market here in the States, though. So what do you think's holding it back? I mean, the big brands have trouble just building it in mass. We know that, but eventually they'll figure it out or acquire enough brands to do it. But still, people still just grab stuff off the shelf.
Yeah, I think that will change though. I think, and we see it changing now. And I always go back to food. Like this is a very typical conversation for me because I think Whole Foods did an amazing job of informing the average consumer about what they were eating and the different quality of food or meat. I kind of feel like that's what's happening with the beauty industry. The beauty industry has taken the lead on, there are several of us that have taken the lead on making sure that ingredients are, there's transparency ingredients and formulations, that the lists are clean, that, we're having open conversations with our consumers. For us, we want people to make informed choices. So it's important for us to talk about what's in our products, but I feel like the larger companies are starting to latch onto that, but also the way that they'll do that is by acquiring smaller brands. Right. So, the innovation timeline at a large CPG is long. Like that's a big ship to turn. So I think the way that they bring, the larger CPGs bring that ingredient knowledge or that ability to leverage that kind of knowledge is through acquiring some of the smaller brands.
Yeah, I'm on the board of a private equity company that we're just investing in next gen food companies, and one of the things we found is ingredients. There is a lack of them to get really good products to mass market. Same thing in beauty. It seems like it's probably not as sexy as a space, but it seems like there's an opportunity there in the beauty, cosmetics, skincare. Just producing enough algae to really take this mass market seems a bit overwhelming to me. You think there's opportunities for companies and entrepreneurs to kind of just go after what used to be more the chemist sector?
Yeah, for sure. I think if we just think about algoronic acid alone and the fact that it's regenerative, there is no limit. There's no supply issue. So I think you just need to be very smart about what you're doing. Certainly I wouldn't want anyone harvesting, that's not sustainable. But I think you want to be able to regenerate, from algae, an ingredient. I think looking to nature, biotechnology allows you to do that, allows you to reproduce ingredients in a lab, taking the best of what nature has to offer. I think that biotechnology is going to become even more meaningful than it has been. Certainly it's been across other categories, but much more so in beauty. But, on the topic of ingredients, I think it's important to also like share with you that we've continued in the spirit of how we were born. So we've actually been able to make our own ingredients, and we've been able to bring two really innovative ingredients to market. One is vegan collagen, active vegan collagen. And so we were able to, with our science partners and our VP product development, basically combine corn, wheat, and soy in order to make a molecule that mimics an animal collagen. And so that's exclusive to us. We've had vegan collagen since 2014. We've had active vegan collagen, which is probably the most concentrated form of collagen, since 2017. And what's important about that for me also is that it's actually collagen, because I think a lot of the brands are using the word collagen because collagen's important, especially in skincare. It's one of the most important aspects of skincare, but a lot of the brands are not using collagen. They use collagen promoters, which are important, like vitamin C and amino acids and things of that nature. But again, we want our consumer to be informed, and then she can make choices. And we use collagen promoters, so I want to make sure that I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those. But we also have collagen, like
it's not enough, right?
Collagen.
Yeah, a lot of them just want to put collagen or retinol somewhere on the label so they can check the box and look. Yeah.
And then we've got really amazing claims behind that collagen as well, speaking to things that collagen does, which is, the balance and the resilience of the skin. And then this year we were able to launch an ingredient which really was bringing innovation to a category that hasn't had any for a long time, which is vitamin C. And we were able to do that by extracting L-ascorbic acid from a blue-green algae. So we always look to plants or algae when we're looking for innovation, but we're very focused on making ingredients. And part of that is because we want to have the best products. But the other part of that is that I think it's important to share knowledge and to demonstrate that this can be done in labs. We can do this in a way that is clean, and that we understand our supply chain. We can monitor how something's made from start to finish. The quality and the integrity is there, and I think that becomes very important to the consumer.
Yeah, as long as you make it scalable. That's the first time I've heard vitamin C. It's usually more of an internal versus topical type of thing. So you guys are clearly kind of moving beyond algae and hyaluronic acid as you label it to new things. How do you, I guess two questions. One, how do you choose that on the whole innovation path? But I was going to ask you first, what's your culture like? Because I'm getting kind of this lab techie white coat geeky group, but I'm also getting pretty hip, market focused people. So what's it like over there?
Just a little bit like that.
Do you have a lab coat back there? What's in the? No, never mind.
I have a black lab coat on. That's the hip part. Our culture is one that, I guess the best way to describe it is we have a team of people that are incredibly curious and love making product. Like literally love sitting around and thinking about like, how could we do this? Or is there a need for that? Importantly, especially today, like we're able to monitor our social feeds and have like interactions with our consumers directly. So we get a lot of feedback. We look to our consumers for what their needs are. We're also 80% women at the organization. So, some of it is selfish. Some of it is, would love to have X, and then, we figure out whether or not it's a market opportunity. So we still do there's still the diligence around it, but I think, we are all very, very focused on, Imagineering. And I think it's the spirit that you need in order to have innovation in an organization. And sometimes, we get down a path with something and we decide that it's not right, or it's not going to be a big opportunity, or it's not truly, we're not able to do it in a way that aligns with our values, and we put it aside.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that is you have a company that was founded on an accident, really. You invented this product for an entirely different reason, and then decided, wait a minute, this works for skincare. Do you ever come up with stuff that says, wait a minute, this could work for automobile grease, but not, it's probably not a good, never mind.
No, but I do have I have a wish.
Yeah,
So, when I think about algae and the sustainability aspect of algae, and I think about the industry and packaging,
yeah,
and I know what algae can do. We've got partners that run in other areas making, polymers out of algae that are super interesting. I would love to make an algae pack. Like, I would love to make a product that is also contained within an algae component. So, that might happen. We might end up
yes.
making something that is not skincare at some point. We certainly kick it around a lot.
Scientists has been trying to invent, like, I'll just throw out a funny one, make people laugh, but it's edible packaging since the 80s.
Yeah.
And they actually came up with it, but nobody wants to, never mind. They don't want to eat their packaging, but there's something there. It seems like a really robust, chemical agent as you guys turn it into, but why is it so good for the skin?
Well, for the very reason that it can survive and thrive in any environment. So it's going to like incredible humectant properties, incredible anti-aging properties, nourishing. I mean, algae we know is nourishing.
Yep.
And it really just performs it in anything we put it in. We have 8 patents on hyaluronic acid today, which is impressive. We just earned our 8th patent. I think it was earlier this year or late last year. It's kind of a blur. This year has been a blur.
Yes, still
But
is.
that patent actually allows for us to make some anti-pigmentation claims, which is really unique as well. So I think algae has a lot of, very powerful properties to it, whether you're ingesting it or you're using it topically. And I think we know that, I think consumers also understand that, like, what you put on your skin is as important as what you put in your body.
Exactly.
So algae is really very, very strong skincare ingredient.
That's one of the reasons we wanted to on the program. There's many indie brands, actually some big brands too, that are really just repackaging ingredients that they're buying from suppliers. And it's a good mix. It's a good thing. It's either like custom for you. There's a lot of customization, personalization going on, but not too many of them are actually scientifically, inventing and patenting things. And so it's a challenge that small companies struggle with. And I think in the long term is going to be good. Just kind of going with that thought, what kind of trends are you seeing coming up? We talk a lot about, personalization, both of food and supplements and cosmetic, skincare kind of products. That was one that we've covered a lot. What are you seeing?
I mean, a few things. One of them we're already doing really well. So one of the things that the trends that we see, especially in Asia, is that serums are incredibly important to a skincare routine. People want something targeted for their need. We actually do a pretty significant amount of our portfolio business in serums. So I'm always proud of that, because a serum is what you want to see results from. And so if you're doing a large, lion's share of your business in serums, that means you've got good products and they work. So, we'll continue to innovate in the serum category, but I do think serums will become more and more important. Serums and essences are certainly, I think, I don't know that they're a trend, and more that they will just become a much more meaningful category, especially as people have to make decisions. I mean, let's just be real. Like, there will be some sensitivity around, shopping, trading up or trading down. And people are going to rely on those powerhouse products like a serum. So I think those are important. At home, at-home treatments are really important because of a lot of reasons, but convenience, quality, safety.
COVID. Yep.
Yeah,
You
correct.
talking about masks or just
Yeah,
multi-process treatments?
peels, masks, ampules, those things,
Yeah.
those types of categories, I think will become very meaningful. But they go back to that same, I would call it mother category, which is a serum, right? It's the most concentrated, effective tool in the toolbox. Um, Digital, I think, has all been a trend for a long time. I think people have, we've been evolving in various ways. People want to shop conveniently. They want things. They want value in different ways that you can provide that. But we had some things on deck earlier that we were going to. Sorry, we had some things on deck for digital that we were going to launch later this year. But with COVID, we accelerated them, and that I think gives an opportunity to connect with the consumer in a more human way through digital. So like live streaming, live chat, we call it at your service. It's basically a consultation like what we're doing right now, video to video, because people still want to connect with people.
Right.
People still want recommendations from people. So I think that we'll see more of that evolving in interesting ways.
We're seeing that a lot with the Revieve Health, Beauty, and Wellness Index. So we monitor all the behavior for online cosmetics, skincare, supplements, and in certain categories of search, whether it's obviously cosmetics was down during COVID, but with skincare, depending on which area they were searching to diagnostically figure out what they should be buying, they've been up anywhere from 200 to 400%. And this is on most of the retailer sites as well as the beauty brands, because we're managing a lot of the back end of that. So for you, obviously a shift to skincare was a good thing. What else have you seen in this 2020?
I mean, supplements, ingestibles are going to continue to be really important. I think people are wanting to make sure that they are as healthy as they can be. So, we have a suite of supplements. I think we'll hold with what we have because we, again, want to make things that are meaningful. And they're algae based, but I think we'll continue to see internal supplements for skin.
Your algae based supplements, are those like good for smoothies or anything? Just the
So
normal?
what's cool about ours, again, when you ask like how do we innovate product, and we sit around and said some of that is selfish.
That
we
should be.
we were like most of us don't drink smoothies.
Yeah.
Like we're not smoothie people, but we wanted something that we could
Too much work.
put on our food. So we made these really cool supplements that have like the cleanest formulas. There's no maltodextrin in them, which is usually in every powdered formula, to keep it from clumping. And it's like the equivalent of a candy bar. So that's not in any of ours. And you can use ours, you can add them to water, your salad dressing. We have one that has a savory flavor. It's like great on popcorn. You can cook with them. So, and if you must, you can add it to a smoothie.
I didn't know smoothies were on the downside. I thought they were still popular.
So basic, right? It's okay in a pinch.
It's kind of lazy.
It's
Lazy
like
American smoothies.
I think it's a great way to get all of your nutrients at once, but like, I don't know. I enjoy having a meal. And so, the thought of like chugging something kind of takes away from that joy.
Yeah. You might eat those words someday. Pun intended. I'll see you'll have a whole line of smoothies. No, we'll call it something new. So, I really want to thank you for being on the program, Rose. You've been very insightful. It's just great to see a young company so kind of focused on really. It's not like you're vertically integrated, but it's pretty good relative to other companies I've seen out there. And we have a large audience, both corporate entrepreneurs, consumers. Just given the journey you've been through, just curious what kind of thoughts you would give some of the aspiring entrepreneurs out there that are starting indie brands in all categories, really. Health, wellness, food, cosmetics, skincare, tech, doesn't matter. But especially out in California, there, just some words of wisdom might be helpful to kind of close out.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thanks for having me. But I think if I could give anybody any advice, when they were, building out their business, there's a couple of things. One is know your customer, and service that customer, the best that you can. Find the best distribution for that customer. Don't try to be all things to all people, and stay as true as you can to your DNA. Do not divert from that ever. It's what makes you special and unique. And you'll have a lot of people telling you like, this is hot, or we need to do this, or and it's distraction that you'll have to undo later. And sometimes that can be deadly.
Yeah, well said. Having been through a few of those myself, I'm laughing inside and crying at the same time. It's great, Rose. Great story. Been listening to Rose Fernandez, CEO of Algenist out in California, and check out their products. They're really good, and my guess is we have not heard the end of this story. Look forward to seeing what you're doing in the next generation of your products and services.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks so much.
Yeah, take care. See you soon.
Real pleasure. Bye-bye.